What is a postnuptial agreement? Meet Mary. She is a housewife and is married to John, a businessman. They have a daughter aged 6. Having worked for a while, John is financially stable and has accumulated a certain level of wealth. Mary, however, is financially dependent on John as she is a stay-at-home mom. One day, she found out that John has been having an affair with his secretary, Miss Joanne. Heartbroken and distraught, Mary confronted John and requested a divorce. To Mary's surprise, John proposed that they have a postnuptial agreement drawn up if they are to divorce. Confused, Mary decided to consult a family lawyer about John's request.
A postnuptial agreement, or postnup, is a legal contract between a married couple. It outlines the division of assets and liabilities in the event of a divorce. There are generally two primary reasons for wanting to have a postnup. One is to have a legal document that would expedite the process if there is a divorce, and second is to lay out terms that are different from what is deemed the legal norm.
So, what does a postnuptial agreement cover?
The typical financial matters covered include property division. Who gets to keep what? Spousal support. Will there be alimony, and if so, how much and for how long? Marital debts. Who is responsible for paying what bills? Child custody. Will there be joint or shared custody? Will there be a visitation schedule? Child support. How much will the non-custodial parent pay? Insurance benefit. Will one party be responsible for medical insurance for the other? What happens with retirement or life insurance?
How are assets and debts divided?
Depending on where you live, the standard division of assets will either fall under community property or equitable division. The common practice is for all community property to be divided equally between the spouses. Property proven as separately owned usually goes to their respective owner. For equitable distribution, assets and liabilities that were accumulated during the marriage are divided equitably between the spouses. It is important to note that equitable does not mean equal, but rather what the court considers as fair division. For example, Mary is a stay-at-home parent. If she also has custody of her child, the judge may award her spousal support, alimony, or home ownership. Community property rule is applicable in Alaska, Arizona, California, Idaho, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Washington, Wisconsin, and Puerto Rico. While equitable distribution is applicable for the rest of the states. Situations when you might need a postnup. Poor financial habits. What happens when one partner engages in irresponsible spending behaviors such as compulsive shopping or gambling? Change in work status. In the event one party stops working, for example, due to disability or to stay home and raise the children. Family inheritances. If one party received an inheritance that he wants to define ownership to in the event of a divorce. Career success. If one partner is doing really well, he might want to define the division of assets in the event of a divorce. Infidelity. In Mary's case where her husband is cheating, it would make sense for her to request an agreement outlining the division of assets if they are to divorce.
Do I need a lawyer to prepare a postnuptial agreement?
It depends. You might need one if the spouses are doing a postnup in less than ideal or even hostile circumstances, it is strongly advised that both parties employ their own legal counsel. Another reason for using legal assistance is when there is a large amount of financial assets or liabilities involved. If you decide to use a do-it-yourself postnuptial agreement instead, it is strongly advised that you take into account possible future complications, such as a change in working status or becoming unable to work due to injuries or an illness. You clearly state all assets and liabilities as your state law will apply to any missing item. Or worse yet, the court could use this as a basis to nullify the contract. Lastly, you must make specific arrangements for debts and liabilities, including making any necessary name changes and adjustments to account holder information. For example, John and Mary own a house in both names and John agrees to make the mortgage payment in the event of a divorce. If John fails to follow through, the bank can still come after Mary.
For more information, and to download free attorney-drafted sample and forms, visit www.postnuptialagreement.org. Thanks for watching.